She's the immortal master of reinvention, the phoenix of pop who refuses to be erased after nearly 7 decades. A girl once left at an orphanage with ruined shoes cinched by rubber bands rose to command an empire worth more than $360 million. No one has endured like she has. She bent time, turning poverty into platinum, heartbreak into history, and illness into legacy. She gave us I Got You Babe, and the world believed for the first time. She gave us Believe, and the world never stopped. The figures stagger the imagination. More than 100 million records sold around the globe. A Las Vegas residency that pulled in over $250 million. Blockbustery tours that set records, yet left her knees so inflamed she needed injections backstage just to step into the light. In Malibu, an Italian Renaissance-inspired mansion sits high over the Pacific, worth tens of millions, its bronze doors and cool marble floors opening to a horizon that whispers of a life that would not surrender. Across Beverly Hills stand more multi-million-dollar homes, each a chapter in a long book of reinvention. In the garage, Rolls-Royces gleaming under soft light, a Porsche 911 with a heartbeat for an engine, and a Cadillac Escalade that has carried both triumph and sorrow. But this is not a tale of riches, it's a ledger of what they cost. Every dollar carries a scar. Every estate and car witnessed nights when her legs shook, notes sung while her chest clenched from illness, collapses behind curtains as glittering gowns disguise bruises. Beyond the fireworks were hours where breath was a battle and failure was not an option. To her family, those assets are not trophies. They are reminders of a mother who wrapped love in sacrifice, an artist who poured blood and tears into every song, a human being who fell, then chose to rise. If her voice ever steadied you through pain, leave a tribute below. Even a single like is a quiet thank you to the voice that lifted us when we couldn't stand. Cher was born May 20th, 1946, in El Centro, California. Comfort was scarce from the start. Her mother, Georgia Holt, a singer with a dreamer's resolve, kept going by working behind a donut counter in Fresno. Her father, John Sarkeesian, an Armenian-American truck driver with charm but no anchor, vanished almost as quickly as he appeared. The marriage fractured before Cher could form words, and what remained were fragments. A floating surname, a father turned into a rumor, and instability etched into childhood. Georgia kept searching for secure ground, 7 marriages in all, some repeated. Cher had an older half-sister, Jorgan, and together they watched their mother chase permanence that never stayed. At just 2 years old, necessity forced Georgia to leave Cher in a Catholic orphanage. Picture a toddler with wide, questioning eyes, fingers wrapping around strangers' hands while her mother walked away. She bounced between her grandparents' modest house, dusty rented rooms and shelters where nothing was hers. Winter air slipped through wall cracks. Thin blankets did little. School meant whispers about tattered clothes. Once rubber bands held the soles of split shoes together. Life jerked from canned bean weeks to brief spells in Beverly Hills when another husband aimed for opportunity. The swings didn't thrill her. They carved confusion. Dyslexia and an undiagnosed learning disorder drew the wrong labels from teachers, lazy, defiant, when she was simply drowning. While classmates dreamed of dances, she pictured rhinestones and spotlights. On stage, she wouldn't be invisible. At 16, she left school, stuffed a small suitcase, and boarded a bus to Los Angeles. Early 1960s LA could break you, but it gave her one lifeline, Sonny Bono. He wasn't yet a lover. He was a couch when she had nowhere else. Necessity became partnership, then something larger. In 1965, they released I Got You Babe, and for the first time, the world listened. The hit didn't just launch a career, it pulled her out of the abyss. But fame flickers. Films flopped, hits cooled, and the spotlight dimmed. To survive, they pivoted to smoky Las Vegas stages where sequins flashed under cheap neon. Night after night, she sang for survival, carrying the ache of the orphanage, the fear of failing shoes, the constant crave for permanence. Each note became a brick for the empire she would build, not from privilege, but from wounds. By the late 1960s, the momentum was slipping. Barely in her 20s, Cher and Sonny faced a cliff, money, time, and heat all running out. Reinventing as a nightclub act wasn't glamorous, It was oxygen. Quick banter, sharp comedy, and undeniable chemistry became their currency. At the center was Cher, dry wit, ferocious presence, impossible to dim. From the brink came a revival. In 1971, the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour hit television and beamed into millions of homes. For viewers, it looked like triumph. For Cher, then 25, it was survival in sequence, off camera, the marriage frayed. Legacy held it together long after love did not. Smiles for the audience, silence at home. By 1974, it broke. She filed for divorce. In 1975, the partnership and marriage dissolved. She discovered how little she controlled and how little she had. At 29, she grieved a first great love while staring into the crater of near ruin. She refused disappearance. In 1975, she launched a solo variety show, Cher. The whispers said she would fail without Sonny. Instead, she soared. Sequins, laughter, ratings. The Wind declared she was never anyone's half. Sonny's solo series collapsed within a single season, closing a chapter that couldn't be mended. The music years that followed were punishing. Stars, 1975, I'd Rather Believe in You, 1976, and Cherished, 1977, drew barely a ripple. Then Greg Allman entered, a Southern rock legend with demons he couldn't outrun. In June 1975, 3 days after her divorce finalized, she married him. 9 days later, it fell apart under addiction's weight. They split, reconciled, fought, tried again. A brief Sonny reunion in 1976 triggered another divorce filing from Greg until fate intervened. Cher was pregnant. Their son, Elijah Blue, arrived in July 1976. Even a child couldn't still the storms. By 1978, the marriage ended. At 32, she had endured 2 divorces, a collapsed empire, and a chorus of doubters. She didn't bend. As the 1970s waned, radio moved on. She gambled again. In 1978, she signed with Casablanca Records and stepped into a mirrorball world. Disco wasn't her soul, it was risk. It worked. Take Me Home, 1979, went gold with over 500,000 U.S. sales, a much-needed financial lifeline. The follow-up Prisoner fell flat. So she tossed the sequins and chose honesty over spectacle. The rock band Black Rose with Les Dudek in 1980. Sweat-soaked clubs replaced arenas. Without her name on the cover, fans missed it, radio shrugged, and by 1982, the music, the band, and the romance were gone. Most would stop. Cher did not. At 36, labeled a relic, she began again as an actor. Silkwood, 1983, introduced Dolly Pellicker, a character played without vanity. The film earned over $35 million and brought her a Golden Globe and a first Oscar nomination. Hollywood wrote her back into its ledgers. Then came Mask, 1985, The Witches of Eastwick, 1987, and Suspect, 1987, 6-figure paydays, and a fresh foundation. And in 1987, Moonstruck. As Loretta Castorini, 41-year-old Cher was luminous, ordinary, unforgettable. The movie approached $100 million worldwide. In 1988, she lifted the Academy Award for Best Actress. It wasn't just victory, it was vindication. After the 1988 Oscar, the world saw a summit. She saw a new edge. Trophies don't guarantee tomorrow. In 1989, she answered with Heart of Stone, selling over 4 million copies worldwide. If I Could Turn Back Time ripped across the airwaves, its leather-clad video briefly banned by MTV, while royalties bought stability. She invested in a sanctuary, a Malibu oceanfront estate, where the Atlantic blue could hush the noise left by time. The early 1990s offered little mercy. Albums cooled. Executives chased youth. By 1996, the whispers were loud. She was finished. Money bled through contracts and costs. The Malibu house stood as proof she'd made it. The quiet inside held fear of being erased. Again. Then, 1998, a final bet. At 52, she recorded Believe. Dismissed by some as a last gasp, it detonated instead. 11 million albums sold, more than $100 million in revenue, and auto-tune threaded permanently into pop. On the Do You Believe tour in 1999, friends saw her collapse backstage, ivy drips waiting, bruises under rhinestones, while arenas filled and receipts topped $100 million. For the crowd, spectacle. For Cher, survival in glitter. The farewell tour launched in 2002, stretched to 2005, and grossed over $250 million, one of history's highest at the time. Each night meant fireworks. Each morning, knees so swollen they needed injections. Diamonds shimmered for fans. Purple bruises hid beneath. She kept going, not for vanity, but because each city turned pain into provision. Her fortune glittered in headlines. The hidden accounting told another story: fatigue, fear, and a body-turning traitor. The cracks began in 1987, filming The Witches of Eastwick, a heaviness no rest could fix. By the early 1990s, a chronic viral illness was hollowing stamina. Pneumonia followed. Breathing felt like drowning. Meetings canceled. $1 million roles evaporated. Tours died before rehearsal. Each no carried the dread that the old instability would return. Then, a lost nothing could soften. January 5th, 1998, Aspen, Colorado. Sonny Bono was gone after a mountain slope accident. Headlines screamed. She boarded a plane from London. At the memorial, she did not arrive as the rhinestoned legend. She arrived as a woman in grief. Her eulogy was raw. No lists of betrayals or legal wars, just gratitude. "Without him, I would not be here," she said. The room held its breath. Whatever history debated, love remained. Behind palaces and platinum stands the role that demands the most: mother. Fame eats hours, bedtime stories traded for call times, mornings for makeup chairs. Cher's love for her children ran fierce, but love doesn't always look like presence. And absence leaves a mark. Her younger son, Elijah Blue Allman, spoke with stark honesty about being sent to boarding school at 7. To adults, logistics. To a child, exile. When you go to boarding school at 7 years old, it's kind of hard to feel like you're not being shunned, he said later. In 2013, he and his wife moved into the Malibu estate, a brief stretch of laughter in vast halls, before private disputes ceded distance again. He has called their bond a work in progress, admiration threaded with ache. Chaz Bono, born Chastity son Bono, carried a different weight, becoming himself in the late 2000s in public. For the world, it was news. For Cher, a vertigo of fear and love. "I did not go through it that easily," she admitted. She chose to listen, to learn. In listening, she found pride. "Chaz is so happy now," she said, and they grew closer. What began as disorientation became advocacy. Love stretched, ached, and held. Near her 80th year, Cher is more than an entertainer. She's proof that resilience can be shaped into legacy. On paper, wealth is estimated at $360 million, but to understand it, you have to walk the halls of her life. In Malibu, an Italian Renaissance-inspired sanctuary looks over the Pacific. She bought the land in 1989 for nearly $3 million and finished building in 1999. The home spreads 13,000 square ft, with arched bronze doors, hand-carved fountains, and ceilings that seem to touch the sky. Its value has been pegged as high as $85 million. For Cher, it isn't mere property, it's permanence, a counterspell to a rootless childhood. Other addresses tell the saga. In the 1970s, she and Sonny lived at the famed Owlwood Estate in Holmby Hills, later tagged at $115 million. A Moroccan-style palace in Benedict Canyon over 20,000 square ft, with stables, tennis courts, and trails, later sold to Eddie Murphy, and a cozier English-style Beverly Hills home, purchased in 2013. Each place was a milestone of survival. Her garages are their own memoir, a Rolls-Royce Silver Wraith from the 1950s, the sleek Porsche 911, a pragmatic Cadillac Escalade, even the pink custom Mustang from the 1960s, chrome memories of a star becoming. The bedrock was always the stage. Heart of Stone 1989 sold over 4 million copies. Believed 1998 moved 11 million, brought in more than $100 million in rewired pop. Las Vegas residencies from 2008 to 2011 added $60 million. The farewell run from 2002 to 2005 grossed $250 million. Each night extracted a toll, knees injected, IVs waiting off stage. For the audience, fireworks. For Cher, survival transmuted into fortune. Today, the tempo is gentler. Morning meditation, notes in well-worn journals, evenings watching the Pacific turn indigo. Diet careful, exercise measured, because she remembers when breath itself was fragile. Some days I look in the mirror and see my mother. Some days I see a stranger. But I always see someone who survived, she once said. Not despair, defiance. Her heart stays open. Near 80, she found companionship with Alexander Edwards, a man decades younger. Whispers circled. She ignored them. It isn't spectacle, it's solace, love on her terms. She remains an advocate, especially for the LGBTQ+ community, born of the road she walked with Chaz. With Elijah, the bond is imperfect, enduring all the same. She never claimed perfection, only perseverance, as legacy comes into focus. She arranges the empire, music rights, properties, brand, so that when her voice softens, the story won't. No stage farewell, no grand curtain call, just the quiet construction of permanence she once thought impossible. So, what is Cher's real fortune? The cliffside Malibu mansion? The Rolls-Royces and the Porsche 911? The millions in sales and receipts? Or something harder to count? The audacity to rise every time, to turn betrayal into brickwork, illness into armor, and heartbreak into a foundation no storm can break. If her voice ever made you feel seen, if her survival taught you that no ending is final, if her fire warmed you on a cold night, share your story below. Cher's truest empire isn't measured in mansions or contracts. It lives in the hearts of those who are still rising, because she showed us it can be done.